When Elon Musk finally accepts an invitation to the world's most secretive billionaire gathering, no one knows why he's there. The Prometheus Circle, reserved for those with fortunes exceeding $20 billion, has pursued Musk for 15 years. Dominic Thorne, the group's founder who holds everyone's secrets, feels uneasy. Something's off. Why, after years of refusal, does Musk suddenly want to address them? Unbeknownst to the billionaires, Musk isn't there to join their elite club, he's there to rewrite the rules entirely, and by the time his speech concludes, nothing will remain the same. Dominic Thorne stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of his Manhattan penthouse, gazing at the city lights twinkling below as rain tapped softly against the glass. In one hand, he held a tablet displaying the world's most exclusive list, 35 names, 35 fortunes, 35 individuals who could collectively buy entire nations. One name made him pause, his brow furrowing. "Lyra," he called without turning. "Have we received final confirmations from everyone?" Lyra Chen, his assistant of nearly 3 decades, appeared silently at his side. At 62, she knew more secrets than anyone but Dominic himself. "Yes, sir. The last confirmation came this morning." "Including Musk?" "Yes, for the first time. He also requested a speaking slot." Dominic turned from the window, his reflection fading. Stepping into the warm glow of the living room, the space was surprisingly understated for a man worth over $80 billion, no garish art, no gold accents, just clean lines and comfortable furniture. True power, Dominic had learned long ago, didn't need to flaunt itself. "A speaking slot," he echoed, settling into his favorite armchair. "Did he say what about?" "No, sir. Only that he wants to share something significant with the circle." Dominic tapped the armrest thoughtfully. For 15 years, they'd invited Elon Musk, and this was the first time he'd accepted. Why now? What had changed? "Pull everything we have on Musk's recent activities," he said, "especially the last 3 months." Lyra nodded and moved to her workstation. Moments later, screens around the room lit up with news articles, private reports, and financial data. "SpaceX is advancing its Mars program," Lyra summarized. "Tesla sales remain steady despite market dips. The Boring Company just secured permits for 3 new cities. Neuralink has been unusually quiet, though we noted significant staff changes 2 months ago. And Twitter? Stabilized. No major shifts since he stepped back from daily operations last year." Dominic rose, pacing slowly, scanning the data on each screen. Nothing stood out as unusual, nothing explained why Musk suddenly wanted to engage with the Prometheus Circle after years of keeping his distance. What about personal movements? Typical travel between facilities. Though, Lyra hesitated. "There's one anomaly, 3 weeks in New Zealand with no public appearances. Sources say he was meeting someone, but we can't confirm who." That was unusual. Dominic's intelligence network rarely came up empty. His company, Sentinel Global, was officially a strategic consulting firm, but its real business was information, secrets governments and corporations paid millions to access. Yet somehow, Musk managed meetings even Dominic couldn't trace. Interesting. Dominic picked up his phone and dialed. Despite the late hour, Octavia Reeves answered on the second ring. "I was just thinking of you," her smooth voice came through. "Checking the final list for Whitewater?" "Yes." Musk agreed. "And he wants to speak." A pause. "Well, that's unexpected." Octavia was the only surviving co-founder of the Prometheus Circle. 20 years ago, she, Dominic, and 3 others formed the group with a simple mission: coordinate, don't compete. Why fight over scraps when you could grow the whole pie? Since then, the circle had quietly shaped markets, steered technological progress, and, when necessary, influenced political outcomes. "Any guesses?" Dominic asked. "Have you dealt with him lately?" "No," Octavia replied. "My renewable energy subsidiaries compete with his battery tech, but there's been no direct contact." This is intriguing. We need to be ready, Dominic said, watching the rain streak his windows. Musk doesn't do anything without a reason. Maybe he's finally realized he needs allies, Octavia suggested. SpaceX is burning cash, and Twitter's been a mess. Perhaps he's looking for a lifeline. But Dominic wasn't convinced. Musk had weathered financial storms before without seeking help. This felt different, more deliberate. I've got people digging into his recent moves, he said. I'll let you know if anything surfaces. See you at Whitewater. Hanging up, Dominic returned to the window. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean, buildings reflecting in puddles like mirror images of themselves. Lyra approached with a fresh cup of tea. Should we increase security for the meeting? Dominic considered. The Prometheus Circle convened every 3 years at Whitewater Lodge, a private retreat in Colorado's mountains. By tradition, members arrived alone, no security, no assistance, no devices connecting to the outside world, just the world's 35 wealthiest individuals with their ambitions and secrets. No, he decided. We stick to tradition. But he turned to Lyra. Prepare the contingency protocols, just in case. Lyra nodded, understanding perfectly. The contingency protocols were security measures Dominic had designed but never used, allowing him to lock down Whitewater Lodge entirely if needed. Anything else tonight, sir? Dominic shook his head, and Lyra slipped out silently. Alone again, Dominic scrolled through the guest list on his tablet once more. Zara Chen, whose quantum computing breakthroughs revolutionized cryptography. Marcus Wyatt, whose pharmaceutical empire supplied drugs to half the planet. Isidora Cruz, who reshaped banking in Latin America. Julian Reed, the brash newcomer whose streaming platform made him rich enough to join at 34. And others, dozens who rarely appeared publicly but controlled vast swaths of the global economy. Each name represented power, not the kind tied to elected office or fame, but the kind that could redirect rivers of money, information, and influence. And then there was Elon Musk, the wild card, always playing his own game by his own rules. In 3 days, they'd all gather at Whitewater Lodge. For the first time, Dominic felt uneasy about the meeting. Something was about to shift, he could sense it. He set the tablet on a side table and closed it. Whatever Musk was planning, Dominic was prepared. He hadn't built his empire by being caught off guard. But as he readied for bed, one question lingered: what could Elon Musk possibly want to say to a room of people who considered themselves his equals? 3 days later, the steady thump of helicopter blades sliced through the mountain air as Dominic's private chopper descended toward Whitewater Lodge. The days had passed quickly, filled with preparations and last-minute intelligence gathering that revealed frustratingly little about Musk's intentions. Below, Whitewater Lodge came into view, a sprawling structure of timber and glass nestled among pines, its roof blending seamlessly with the landscape. A frozen lake nearby shimmered, reflecting the afternoon sun. In summer, the place was stunning; in winter, blanketed in snow, it was breathtaking. As the helicopter touched down, Dominic spotted other choppers already parked nearby. The gathering had begun. Mason, the lodge's caretaker for 20 years, greeted him as he stepped onto the helipad, rotors whipping their clothes. "Good to see you again, Mr. Thorne," Mason said, taking Dominic's single bag. "Most of your guests have arrived. We're expecting 4 more. Any issues?" Dominic asked as they walked toward the main building. "None, sir, though Mr. Reed arrived with 2 assistants instead of alone, as requested. I've arranged for them to stay in staff quarters." Dominic frowned. Julian Reed had a reputation for pushing boundaries. "Remind him of the rules," politely. "Already done, sir." Inside, Whitewater Lodge was a masterpiece of understated luxury, vaulted ceilings, stone fireplaces, and cozy furnishings creating an air of rustic elegance. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed sweeping mountain views. A few members had already gathered in the great hall, drinks in hand, murmuring quietly. Dominic nodded to Zara Chen, standing alone by a window, her small frame silhouetted against the mountain's cape beyond. Despite her unassuming appearance, Zara's quantum computing innovations made her one of the most influential figures in tech. "Dominic," she greeted softly. "Beautiful place. Glad you could make it, Zara. I'm looking forward to your presentation on security applications." She smiled faintly. "I think you'll find it engaging." Across the room, Marcus Wyatt was deep in conversation with Isadora Cruz, an odd pair, the towering German pharmaceutical magnate with his neatly trimmed beard and the petite Latin American banking queen radiating authority in a tailored suit. "Our friend from California hasn't arrived yet?" Dominic asked Zara. "Musk? No, his chopper's due in about an hour, I believe." Dominic moved through the room, greeting each member personally. The Prometheus Circle operated on careful balance. Every person present controlled resources others needed or desired. Competition existed, but the circle provided a forum to align interests rather than clash. That was the theory, at least. "Dominic, man of the hour," Julian Reed's voice cut through the room. The youngest member approached, whiskey glass in hand, his designer stubble and casual attire clashing with the older member's formal wear. "Julian," Dominic acknowledged. "I hear you brought guests." Julian waved dismissively. "Just my security team, paranoid habit. They won't interfere. The circle has rules, Julian. No outside personnel, no exceptions." Got it, got it. Mason already gave me the speech." Julian sipped his whiskey. "So, Musk finally graces us with his presence. Think he's here to sell us Mars tickets?" Octavia Reeves joined them, elegant in a simple gray dress, her silver hair swept into a flawless chignon. "This circle isn't about selling," she said coolly. "It's about coordination." "Right," Julian said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Making sure we don't step on each other's toes while carving up the world." Before Octavia could respond, Dominic noticed something curious across the room. Valerie Hong, whose shipping empire controlled half the world's maritime trade routes, was locked in a tense discussion with Alessandro Rossi, an Italian energy billionaire. They stopped abruptly when they noticed Dominic's gaze. Odd, those two were usually rivals, vying for Alessandro's liquefied natural gas contracts. "Excuse me," Dominic muttered, moving toward them, but Mason appeared at his elbow. "Sir, the final helicopters are arriving, including Mr. Musk's." Dominic pivoted toward the entrance, several members trailing behind, curious to see the infamous colleague who'd never joined them before. Through the windows, they watched a sleek black helicopter settle onto the helipad. The door opened, and a lone figure stepped out, Elon Musk, dressed simply in dark jeans, a black t-shirt, and a blazer. Unlike others who arrived with some luggage, Musk carried only a small backpack slung over one shoulder. "Traveling light," Octavia murmured beside Dominic. "Or not planning to stay long," Dominic replied. The group moved back inside as Mason escorted Musk into the Great Hall. A brief silence fell as members sized up the newcomer. Musk's gaze swept the room, taking in the assembled wealth and power with an unreadable expression. Dominic stepped forward. "Welcome to the Prometheus Circle, Mr. Musk. It's an honor to have you join us at last." Musk smiled, but something in his eyes unsettled Dominic, a glint of amusement. "Knowledge? Wouldn't miss it," Musk said. "I was waiting for the right moment." "Let me introduce you to those you haven't met," Dominic offered, but Musk shook his head. "No need. I know who's here." His eyes scanned the room again. "When do we start?" "Dinner's at 7, Octavia said. "Formal presentations begin tomorrow morning. Your speech is scheduled last, as requested." Musk nodded. "Perfect." Mason stepped forward. "Mr. Musk, I'll show you to your room so you can refresh before dinner." As Musk followed Mason out, conversation resumed. But the energy had shifted, a subtle uncertainty entering the room with Elon Musk. Well, he's not what I expected, Julian said, refilling his glass from a crystal decanter. What did you expect? Zara asked. Julian shrugged. More, flash. Guy's got hundreds of billions and dresses like he's heading to a tech meetup. It's his brand, Valerie Hong said, joining their circle. The shipping magnate, a striking woman in her 50s with a severe bob, spoke with authority. Carefully cultivated authenticity. There's nothing authentic about Musk, Alessandro Rossi added, his Italian accent thick despite decades in global business. He's all marketing. Dominic listened, noting who felt threatened by Musk's presence and who was merely curious. This delicate dynamic was what made the Prometheus Circle function, or falter. As its founder, Dominic's role was to maintain equilibrium, keep egos in check, and foster connections that benefited all. But Musk was unpredictable, and Dominic had no leverage over him, no way to anticipate his words or actions. As members dispersed to their rooms to prepare for dinner, Dominic lingered with Octavia by the massive stone fireplace. "What do you make of him?" she asked quietly. Dominic watched the flames dance over cedar logs. "He's here for something specific, I agree. But what? I don't know. He's been planning this for a while." Octavia sipped her wine thoughtfully. 20 years we've built this circle, Dominic. 20 years of careful balance. Are you worried? Aren't you? Dominic didn't answer immediately. The fire sparked and popped. Outside, darkness settled over the mountains, stars emerging in a clear sky. "Yes," he admitted finally. "For the first time in a long time, I'm worried." Octavia touched his arm lightly, a rare gesture from a woman known for her reserve. "Whatever happens, we'll handle it. We always do." Dominic nodded, but as he headed to his room to change for dinner, he couldn't shake the sense that something fundamental was about to shift. After decades of collecting intelligence on everyone and everything, he was unsettled by what he didn't know. In a few hours, they'd all sit down with Elon Musk. And somehow, despite being in a room he owned, surrounded by people he'd personally invited, Dominic felt like he was walking into someone else's trap. Dinner at the Prometheus Circle was always meticulously planned, and tonight was no exception. The long dining table gleamed with fine porcelain and crystal under the warm glow of wrought iron chandeliers. Outside, snow began to fall, dusting the evergreens visible through tall windows. Per tradition, business talk was forbidden on the first evening, a rule designed to build rapport before diving into the complex negotiations and alliances that would form over the next 2 days. Tonight was for stories, for sharing experiences that reminded them, despite their wealth and power, they were still human. Dominic took his seat at the head of the table, Octavia at the opposite end. The others settled in, guided by elegant place cards. Dominic noted with interest that Musk sat between Zara Chen and Marcus Wyatt, two members whose industries overlapped most with Musk's ventures. Servers poured wine and delivered the first course, a delicate mushroom soup made from foraged local fungi. Conversation started slowly, then flowed more freely as the fine wine took effect. Julian Reed, already on his third glass, turned to Musk. "So, what's the latest toy in your workshop? Another tunnel? A mind-reading chip?" Musk smiled faintly. "We're always working on something." "Come on," Julian pressed. "Give us a hint. What's worth breaking your circle boycott for?" A brief silence fell. Julian had breached an unspoken rule by acknowledging Musk's past refusals, but Musk seemed unfazed. "I wouldn't call it a boycott. Just waiting for the right time." He took a small sip of wine. "As for what I'm working on, mostly battery tech. Energy storage is still the bottleneck for sustainable power." "But that's not why you're here, is it?" Zara asked quietly beside him. Musk glanced at her appraisingly. "You've always been perceptive." Zara said nothing, her eyes narrowing slightly. The conversation shifted to safer topics, recent travels, art acquisitions, the challenges of finding good staff. Dominic watched Musk closely. The tech billionaire barely touched his food and kept checking his watch. Whatever his purpose, he was clearly waiting for something. When the main course arrived, perfectly seared venison with seasonal vegetables, Julian couldn't resist another jab. Seriously, Elon, what's this secret project? Rumors say you've been meeting with deep AI researchers. Something to rival OpenAI? The table fell silent. Such bluntness was poor form at these gatherings, but Musk only laughed. What I'm working on doesn't need funding. It's already fully operational. He scanned the table. But you'll have to wait until tomorrow. I'm speaking last, right? Dominic confirmed with a nod, studying Musk's face. Something was off. Musk looked almost amused. No, that wasn't it. He looked like a man watching a play whose ending he already knew. Dessert came and went, followed by coffee and brandy in the great hall. As members broke into smaller groups, the evening proceeded normally, yet Dominic couldn't shake his unease. He noticed Musk slip out onto the terrace alone. After a moment's hesitation, Dominic followed. Outside, the night was clear and cold, stars blazing with an intensity only possible far from city lights. Musk stood by the stone railing, gazing at the valley below, his breath forming clouds in the crisp air. Nice view, Dominic said, joining him. Yeah, Musk agreed. Makes it easy to see why early humans believed in gods. Standing under a sky like this, you feel small. You've never shown interest in our circle before, Dominic said, cutting to the point. Why now? I've been watching you, Musk replied. From a distance, studying how it all works. And what have you learned? Musk turned to him, his face half-shadowed. That power isn't what most people think. Most see it as control, forcing others to do what you want. But real power is subtler. It's about creating conditions where others make the choices you want, believing it was their idea all along. Dominic found that an intriguing philosophy. Not my philosophy, Musk added. Sun Tzu, more or less. Before Dominic could reply, Musk shifted topics. Nice place. Completely off-grid, I assume. No external communications. That's the point. 3 days of true seclusion. No distractions, no leaks. Seclusion, Musk repeated, as if tasting the word. Interesting concept these days. How so? This concludes our narrative journey. I trust you found this gripping saga of intrigue, cutting-edge innovation, and astonishing discoveries captivating. From where are you tuning in today? I'm curious to learn which corner of the globe this tale has touched. If this escapade held your interest, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for a steady stream of compelling, mind-expanding stories just like this one. Fresh material is posted frequently, ensuring you're always in the loop for the newest spellbinding adventures. Be sure to pass this video along to your loved ones and friends. It's a great way to share positivity and insight while expanding our circle of story enthusiasts. Your encouragement is invaluable. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to welcoming you back for the next tale.